You ever notice how self-storage units are popping up faster than Starbucks? Yeah, me too. Hey, it's Steve here, the old Get Out of Debt guy, and I'm joined as always by the new Get Out of Debt guy, Damon Day. Say hello, Damon.
Hello, Damon.
Today we're opening the door, literally, on a growing American obsession, self-storage. From climate-controlled closets to units that you haven't opened since 2014, we're digging into why so many people are paying monthly to store stuff they probably forgot and paying for other things they're not even using. So is it clutter? Is it trauma? Is it expensive procrastination? And what should you actually consider before signing that next storage lease or leaving a subscription abandoned in the wilderness? Stick around because we got some eye-opening truths, smart money tips, and maybe a little tough love coming your way. Damon, you are the king of self-storage units. I've only had one in my life.
I am the king consumer of self-storage units. What I should be is the king investor of self-storage units.
I actually have, this won't come as a big shocker to you, but I have a whole bunch of facts and did my research, and it seems like the moment to invest in self-storage is past because there was a heyday, especially around COVID. They couldn't build them fast enough, but recently I talked to somebody locally that owns some self-storage units, and they said competition is getting fierce. But let me give you this number. The amount of money that Americans spend storing their stuff in these self-storage places,
Oh my God.
$44 billion a year.
Billion with the B.
Billion with a B. And another fact that was interesting in the research was how different the cost of these units is depending on where you live. The most expensive is LA and the least expensive is somewhere in the Midwest, like Kansas, for example.
The least expensive is always somewhere in the Midwest, no matter what you're talking about.
The average for a 10 by 10 non-climate controlled unit is about $128 a month.
Not on the coast.
Not on the coast, right? So how much have you spent for self-storage unit?
Oh God. Well, the reason we're doing this topic today is because I finally cleared out my last self-storage unit. Now, don't get me wrong. I still have a self-storage covered parking space for the trailer. So I'm not completely out of the woods on that yet. I'm still a consumer. But I mean, I can't remember the last time I'm going back years and years and years.
Well, at least ever since I've met you.
Yeah. So we're talking probably 20 years. I've always had, multiple or at least one self-storage unit. And there's been reasons and justifications for it. And I mean, I don't remember how many, I haven't sat down and thought about it, but we've moved, since my wife and I have been married the last 20 years, we've moved probably 5 times and some of them different states. So we've moved and tried different things and moved back. And so I've always kind of been like in this transitional period, I felt like, with a lot of the stuff. Right. And I've got, Steve might call me a hoarder, but I'm not necessarily a hoarder. I'm not like those guys that you see on TV, like with those shows. I'm not there, but I definitely have the tendencies in my brain. And I think a lot of it is just emotional connection to things that are tied to memories for me, right? Like a lot of it is the kids stuff. The kids all 3 are still at the house, but they're older now. So this storage unit I just cleaned out, most of it that was in there was bins labeled kids memories. I mean, and that's what it was. But a lot of it was just procrastination on, dealing with it. Like you just pay the bill every month or whatever. But, you're paying $200 a month. That's $2,400 a year. And when you got to take the emotion out of it, you start thinking about it logically, like, well, to what end are we storing this for, right? Like, are we going to just give the kids all their bins when they go off to college?
Here's
no,
your trash.
They're not going to want it. Yeah, they're not going to want that stuff. So we're just delaying the inevitable because at some point we're going to have to clean out the storage bin and go through it and decide what we don't need anymore. And eventually those blankets and clothes and stuffed animals and things that they have, eventually that stuff's just going to disintegrate anyway.
Yeah.
It won't last forever. So, so to answer your question, how much have I spent on storage?
Now, let me also say, there have been times that I have known you where you have had multiple units in multiple states at the same time.
Yes. Yes. It's called strategery.
Yeah. And my advice has always been the same. Your stuff, you don't own your stuff. Your stuff owns you.
Yeah. And the logical side of my brain would always hear what Steve says and goes, yes, I agree. But then I wouldn't do anything.
Right.
Right. And I would just be like, but it's like a form of procrastination. Like, well, I'll just pay the bill. I'll deal with it later. I'm busy. I don't have time right now. And it's not forcing me to make a decision on what to do with the stuff. And so, but before you know it, like just this one unit alone that we finally, it was an air conditioned unit out here in Arizona. We got it when we moved from Colorado to Arizona. We got that as one of about 4 units that we got because when we moved, it was March of 2020.
Yeah.
And for those of you that remember what it was like in March of 2020, the country was starting to shut down. They were like not allowing people to cross state lines by April or May. We were nervous we were even going to be able to get out of Colorado. We just moved and put all of our stuff in storage. And we were in our 5th-wheel trailer at the lake in Arizona. We didn't have a house here yet. We were just like, okay, let's camp at the lake. And I mean, we literally had like life straws, like it just in case, like, I mean, this was like, pan-delirium going on, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if we're turning into zombies at this point in time or what. So we were like, the trailer was stocked. We're kind of at the lake, kind of away from civilization in this big 5th wheel, life straws in case we ran out of water kind of stuff. People were freaking out. So I'm like, in my genius, I'm like, well, the market's going to crash because this is obviously a huge pandemic. So let's wait to buy a house, right? Genius move, Clark. So we put everything in storage at that time and we just kind of waited it out and then oops. So I ended up having, and I've pared down those storage units once we got into a house. I had this great idea that to my wife, I said, well, this is COVID, they're doing online school for a year. This is all crazy. Why don't we just live in this nice 5th wheel that we have and we could travel and turn COVID into an adventure? Because when else are we going to have this opportunity when the kids don't have to be in class? They're online learning now because of COVID. And she was like all gung ho. We're going to do this. And she lasted like 3 months, maybe.
Get me out of here.
And it was a 45-foot 5th wheel, multiple bedrooms, bathrooms. I mean, it was nice, but we had 3 dogs, 3 kids. And she goes, you go hide up in your office and I got to deal with everything else.
Right.
So yeah, about 3 months in, she's like, get a house. So we ended up getting a house and got most of the stuff out of storage. But this one unit I've had since then, and mainly I kept it because it was climate controlled and we're in Arizona. And I had, leftover stuff that we didn't, bring into the house. And mainly it was Christmas decorations. And anybody that knows my wife knows that she goes crazy at Christmas time. And it's a lot of decorations. And I didn't want that stuff cluttering up my garage. So that was kind of my justification for keeping the storage unit. But, but it also not only is it $200 a month, it was now I got to rent a U-Haul.
Right.
Twice a year.
To bring your Christmas crap.
Yeah, it's October, okay, it's time for the U-Haul load. So drive, get the U-Haul, drive out to the store, get all this. And so you start looking at all this stuff and go, to what end are we, decorating for Christmas here? So this last year, we had all the stuff at the house for Christmas and we were talking about it. And I was like, I'd really like to get rid of that storage unit. That's $2,400 a year.
Yeah.
And is there a way that we could still celebrate Christmas and decorate, but not have to store all of the stuff? So
good question.
We actually went through it all. And there was a lot of things that we had that we didn't use anymore, just stayed in the bins. It was in a bin labeled Christmas, but it was older decorations. We didn't put it up or they didn't work.
You throw it away?
We threw away a lot of stuff.
Congratulations.
And, well, I'm sitting here going, babe, for $2,400 a year, I could buy a lot of just new stuff every year. Not that I want to do that, but at the same time, I mean, you could buy a lot for $2,400, every year. So, but yeah, we went through, and also this house that we're in now that we've been in for a couple of years has a ton of storage, like floor to ceiling, cabinets that were empty. We didn't have anything to go in there. And I was like, what if we took the nicer, so my wife was able to store a lot of the Christmas stuff in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And we got rid of a lot of those. We know we had those, we have, I don't even want to count them up, but I had like probably 40 of those 27-gallon Home Depot, the black and yellow
Did you pitch those too?
No, I put them up for, those are valuable.
Oh, okay.
I put them up for sale.
All right.
I took all the empty ones, because once we stored a lot of the stuff in the house, I didn't need them anymore. I mean, these things are like, $9-10 a piece at Home Depot. I just put them up like, 5 for $25 on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, and people snatch those things up. But yeah, we got everything finally cleaned out, because once we had the Christmas stuff sorted out, there wasn't that much left in the storage unit. It was just the kids' memories, like I was talking about at that point. So we cleared it out, and actually this month was the first month, and as long as I can remember, that I did not have a storage payment come out of my card account, and it was a great feeling. And then a few days later, I got hit for the parking space for my toilet at U-Haul.
Hey, you know what we did with a lot of those childhood paper memories, the cards and the drawings and everything else.
Digitize them.
Yeah. Scan them or took a picture.
The procrastination comes in. So you just have to take the time to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
but no.
And we also did that with, those boxes and boxes of old photos.
Yeah.
I scanned all those, pitched them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, especially with my issue, right? With the, the emotion and, seeing the thing, and it triggers the memory.
Yeah.
Well, the picture of the thing will do the same thing.
Right.
Right. You don't have to have the physical object. Right. And honestly, what I found too is I would rather go back and look at old videos than have a bike in my garage.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I remember this bike. I'd rather have the video of my kid learning to ride that bike. Right. And then you can, take your time and put all those together and put it into like Apple TV on the screensaver kind of thing. So when you're not watching TV, you got your old kids movies, going on. That's much better, because the logical side of my brain would always go, I'm eventually going to die, right? Someday we will die. I mean, this is kind of where you're going
to pass on all your trash to your kids to have to deal with.
Yeah. So that was actually one of the main motivators, is what is the end goal for the stuff that's in this unit? And is the stuff that's in this unit even worth the $2,400 per year that I'm paying? And my conclusion was, it's not even worth 1 year of $2,400.
Right.
Like if my unit was on Storage Wars, Jared would be pissed off if he spent a lot of money on it.
Well, I mean, let's extrapolate it, right? So we've known each other, let's say 20 years. Okay.
Yeah.
If at a minimum you were paying $2,400 a year for storage, and some years you were paying more, you're probably, over that 20 years, you're probably what, 50 grand in storage fees?
I don't even know, but you don't need to make me cry on the podcast, bro. But in my defense, whenever I had more than one storage unit, it was for a short period of time, because we were in the middle of a move or something like that. Like I never carried like 3 storage units for a year or two or anything, because that would be crazy talk, Steve.
Yes, that would. And let's talk about the demographic of people that typically have. This is a fact that surprised me in my research, was 28% of self-storage renters are actually middle-aged women between 40 and 55, typically because of life transitions like moving, divorce, or downsizing.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of it is you just have to, take stock of what is in that storage. And I'm not saying there's never a need for storage, right? Yeah. There are definitely times where, but it should always be, for the most part, temporary, unless it's a very special situation. Because at the end of the day, whatever's in that storage unit, like for me, I went to the storage unit twice a year, mainly to get the Christmas stuff out, and then I could kind of take stock.
Yeah.
But honestly, if that Christmas stuff wasn't in there that I needed, I probably would never go to the storage unit.
Right.
Like, whatever you put in there, it kind of like goes in there to die. You're never going to, anything that's in a storage unit is not going to be something that you're going to use. It's just going to sit in there typically until it's not useful anymore, because it's so old that when you touch it, it disintegrates.
So that's a great segue into paying for things that you don't need anymore, like even through subscriptions. And the reason I think that is such a good topic is because just this morning I was canceling a payment that I was on the hook for every month. And I always do those things through PayPal because once you can find the link in PayPal about where all your subscriptions are managed, your automatic payments, you can cancel them just boop.
Yeah.
And it goes away. But there are lots of us that have subscriptions that we pay for every month for things that we just don't use anymore.
Yeah, and it may not be like, oh, it's $200 a month. Like that's a big, it could be, about a month ago, Steve, I'm going through my credit card statement. And this is a good exercise to do at least once a year. I would recommend this, to go through your statements, where it's a credit card statement, a bank statement, or wherever your bills come out of, and go through and highlight anything that you don't immediately recognize and figure out what it is. Because most people can find $100, $200, $300 a month that they really don't need or don't use.
Right.
But and this was a small example, but I was looking at my statement last month and there was a $5 charge for CVS, the pharmacy.
Yeah.
And it was, and I went back and I was like, well, that's weird. We don't really shop at CVS. It's not one of our go-to stores. And then I looked at the month before, same $5 charge. And I can't remember what it said, but whatever the description was, it gave me the impression that this was something I pay every month.
Yeah.
Right. So I went to my wife and I was like, hey, what's this $5 at CVS? And she looks at me and she goes, I don't know. And I'm like, well, I definitely don't know. So we had to look at what the thing was, the wording was on it, and Google that to try to figure out what we were paying $5 a month for. Turns out it was some CVS reward program that we pay $60 a year, $5 a month, automatic. And we get some kind of discount or something. Neither one of us knew what kind of discount we got. It was probably something that's like, oh, if you sign up for this today, you're going to get, $50 off this order or whatever it was. You know how they do that stuff. So I went back so we went and canceled it, obviously. Now you think, well, $5, that's $60 a year. That's not nothing. I went back and looked, Steve, we had been paying this $5 a month for almost 8 years.
Oh my God. 8 years.
8 years. Almost $500 that we've paid to CVS over 8 years. And I can promise you we did not get $500 in discounts because we never shop at CVS. But I just happened to be looking at this going, and it was just a little $5 a month.
Yeah.
That was it. And I'm like, what is this?
Well, it is true. Somebody did get rewarded.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we had to click. We had to research how to cancel it, got it canceled. But yeah, even if you don't have a storage unit, that was just one example. Pretty much, I think every household can go through and find, we canceled Hulu the other, 6 months ago because I never watch Hulu.
Right.
And I never see Hulu on. I mean, my family's more of a Netflix type of family when we do watch something. And so I asked my wife, I'm like, do you watch anything on Hulu? She's like, no, not really. I'm like, we're paying $22 a month for Hulu.
Yeah.
And nobody watches Hulu. So we canceled it. And I didn't even say anything to my kids. I just canceled it.
They didn't
know. And you know what? In 6 months, not one of my kids has said, hey, Hulu doesn't work. So that's $250 a year that we didn't need, because, we do the Hulu and the Netflix and all that stuff because 10 years ago, I decided cable was too expensive.
Right. Yeah.
The dish.
But dude, all adds up.
And oh yeah, I was good. But back then, 10 years ago, it was like, look at how much money I'm going to save. I mean, high-speed internet was like $20 a month, 10, 15 years ago when I did it.
Yeah.
And then, and then all these subscription things were like super cheap. And it was like, oh, I'm saving all this money. But nowadays, between high-speed internet and Netflix and Hulu and, Amazon Prime and this, that, and the other thing and HBO Max, whatever all these things are, and ESPN Plus because I want to watch my sports or whatever. Now I'm like, I did all this and jumped through all these hoops to save money. Now it's cheaper if I just go back to Dish Network and just watch everything the old-fashioned way. with a DVR.
Yeah.
That's only like $100 a month now, and I'm not paying like $200 a month for all these damn subscriptions.
And you know what's funny is, like with Amazon Prime, you get the video stuff at no additional charge. But I noticed the other day that if you have a Walmart Plus membership, you get Paramount streaming at no additional charge.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Because we have Walmart Plus, and I pay $2.99. It's only $3 a month, but there it goes. It adds it up,
Yep.
right? I pay $2.99 a month for
Paramount?
Paramount. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
But I get Walmart Plus. You know why we get Walmart Plus? Because I get it because of the Penny Stupid project when we drive for Walmart Spark.
Yeah.
It's one of the perks as a driver. So I get that included. And then here I am, my dumb butt, not even utilizing the benefit because it's only $3 a month.
Yeah. I mean, do you have Showtime?
No, I don't have Showtime because that's not anything most of those shows I don't want my kids watching anyway. So I don't have Showtime. But that's the other thing is when it comes to this entertainment, that the options are, YouTube TV is like, $50 a month or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You really have to decide, how to pare that down to only what you actually need.
Right.
And newsflash, it is entertaining, but it's also a time waster too. So, sometimes it doesn't hurt to just cut that stuff out and be like, you know what? I'm going to go TV free for the most part for 3 months and try that out. You'll save money and you'll be more productive because you won't be binging a whole season of Yellowstone on Netflix or that's on Prime or whatever it's on.
And, it's funny. I think we watch more on YouTube these days. I couldn't even tell you what's on broadcast TV anymore.
They still have broadcast TV?
Well, what's on the major networks?
Nothing. Nobody's watching the major networks.
Yep.
Yeah, but that was kind of the catalyst for this episode was I was pretty proud of myself, and I know Steve was even more proud.
Oh, my God, yes.
When I called him up and I was like, dude, I closed the storage unit. And he is like, hallelujah.
That's right. It only took 20 years of nagging you, but, congratulations.
Yeah, hey, I got it done, right? But there's some, the statistics are all over the board, but there's something like, 14.5 million households have storage units.
Mm-hmm.
In the U.S., 14.5 million.
Yeah.
And, most people, like we said, unless they're in Kansas, they're paying 200 plus. My favorite thing about the storage units is the Dear John letters that you get. You know about these, Steve? Because I know you don't use storage, but so anybody that has a storage unit knows about the Dear John letters. And these are the letters that you get about every 6 months. And they start, Dear John, because we strive to keep our storage units in good condition and
I
clean,
can see what's coming.
And we do this and we do that, we're just letting you know that the rates have had to have gone up in the last 6 months. Mm-hmm. We value you as a customer, but just so you know, you're now paying us an extra $10 a month.
Congratulations.
And they come about every 6 months. Anybody that has a storage unit knows they come, gets the Dear John letter, goes, shit, and then keeps paying for it anyway. Yeah. And they'd be happy if you cancel because
they can raise the rates.
Storage just always goes up. And it's like, when I first got that unit, I went back and looked at my statement 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I was curious. You know what I paid for that 10 by 15 air conditioned storage unit per month when I got it in 2020?
$120.
$89 a month.
Yeah, what's it going for now?
Well, now I'm paying $200. It's like $195 with the taxes what I'm paying.
Yeah.
But now I canceled it. If I turn right back around and say, oh my gosh, I changed my mind, that same unit that I just canceled at $195 is $300 a month.
Jeez.
So they are fine with sending you the Dear John letter that, your $185 is going up to $195, because if you get pissed and cancel, they have no shortage of somebody going, I'll pay $300.
Yeah.
So yeah, that storage unit has a little more than doubled in price in 5 years. And I know you mentioned this at the top of the show about, investing in storage units used to, we kind of missed the heyday.
Right.
But you don't have to necessarily invest in storage units. But what I would challenge somebody to do is go through whether they have storage units, subscriptions, whatever, figure out what you can cut out of your life that you really don't need, wouldn't miss, can do without, and then take that money And just to get an Acorns account, make it simple. Just invest that money just in the market or a Roth IRA, just money that you wouldn't really miss because you were spending it anyway. And instead of making the owners of the storage units rich and the Disney Pluses and the Netflix guys rich, put that money into your own retirement so you can benefit from that money that you are earning. Give it to yourself, not to all these companies.
So, as an update, since we did that show where we first talked about Acorns a few months ago, something like that, here's my update today. My balance is $841, and I've currently made an 8% return.
Nice.
So while the market was tanking, you and I were buying.
Yeah.
And things are going well.
We set my 18-year-old up with his own Acorns account because I'm out there, he's learning to get his license, and we're doing DoorDash and Instacart. So as he's learning to drive and getting those hours, he will drive me around and we will go around and get these jobs. And we have a deal where we'll split whatever we make, which is a horrible deal for me, but it's a great deal for him.
Yeah, but look, you're getting all that quality father time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, but I kind of was joking with him the other day. I was like, this is a great deal for you because when you come out with me, it takes me twice as long to get something done because I'm teaching you how to do it. And I'm only getting half the money and I'm covering all the expenses. And you usually want to get Chipotle before we go home. And I cover that. I'm like, so at the end, you're right. I am earning time with my son, but I'm not earning any money. But the cool thing for him is he's learning a skill while he's out driving, learning how to drive. And he's very diligent about every week on Monday. I pay him, I Zelle him over half of whatever we made because the money goes into my account because they're my apps. He doesn't have his license yet, so he can't get on these apps. Mm-hmm. And so I give him half and he immediately takes 30% of whatever I send him, and that goes into his Roth IRA with Acorns. Mm-hmm. He takes 30%, another 30%, and puts it into his investment account with Acorns.
Excellent.
And then he keeps the 40%. So he's up to, and we're not driving really a lot. I've been really busy. I mean, we drive maybe less than 10 hours a week, probably more like 5 or 6 hours a week lately. We're not driving very much. But he's got already just in the last, I think we've been doing this about a month and a half, maybe. Mm-hmm. He's got, I think he was up to about $800 between his two investment accounts.
Amazing.
And he's an 18-year-old kid. And we've gone over those numbers where once he gets his license, we get back from our trip this summer, he's going to be starting community college. Get his license. He'll be driving. He'll be able to, get himself on DoorDash and Instacart and Walmart Spark. And we figured just based on, his availability, and it's very flexible, he'll be able to make easily about $800 to $1,000 a week doing that. So he'll be making enough money to max out his Roth IRA every year, and then probably put between the Roth IRA and his investment account, probably anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 a month in investments because he has no bills. He lives at home. We paid for his food. Yeah. And that's the time when kids need to be investing.
Yeah, because we talked about it. If he leaves it in there, he's going to be a millionaire by the time he retires.
He will be a millionaire by the time he retires, regardless of what he does with his degree. Because the latest one he told me the other night was he's thinking about switching his animation degree to music. And I was like, go from one that's probably going to get, become obsolete from AI to one that is probably not going to be obsolete, but it's hard to make money at.
Yeah. Well, next thing he'll do is dance, English, or philosophy.
Hey, keep investing that money in Acorns, bro.
Talking about kids doing well financially. So I don't think our listeners know this, but I do another podcast. It's called Good Morning Wake County, and it's all good news stories. Anyway, I'm working on one for today's podcast about an 8-year-old in Texas. This kid is in the 2nd grade, and he learned that trash, cans along the side of the road, aluminum cans, can be redeemed for money. And this kid, this 2nd grader, this 8-year-old, every day goes out and collects cans. And he just collected 700 pounds of cans and turned them in. And what he wanted to do with that money? Buy a vending machine. No, this kid's turning trash into dollars, and he's in 2nd grade. The funny thing is, this kid is self-motivated to do this, right? Because if you tried to force your 2nd grader to go out and collect cans, You would have a knock on the door.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like your son, he's excited and motivated to do this. And I think
Yeah.
that's great. The second grader, the reason it triggered this memory is because he's putting all the extra money he's making from his venture into a Roth IRA as well.
Nice. That's the way to do it.
So
It's go ahead.
my rule of money is after you've paid all your expenses, use the rule of thirds, which is save a third in a easy to access savings account, invest a third, long-term investments, and just blow a third. Have fun.
Well, that's good advice, except for the part that if their expenses are equal to or exceed the income, there's nothing left over. So you have to
start canceling stuff.
You have to add to your rule of the max what your expenses should be, to your income. So that I think you should add one more.
Less than.
Yeah. So, well, maybe it needs to be like your expenses need to be kept under 50% of your income. And then the rule of thirds can then apply to the other half of your income.
Well, I think if people use what we talked about, take it to heart, about looking at their self-storage and other things that they're paying for and canceling subscriptions, they'll find a little bit of extra money.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm super excited that self-storage bill is completely gone. But now the entire third bay of my garage is filled with kids' memories that my wife and I have to sit down and go through. But it's more likely to get done because it's here at the house and not the storage unit. That was another problem. The storage unit was 25 miles away.
Yeah.
And the reason it was 25 miles away is because when we moved here in 2020, we had no idea where we were going to live in this area, Phoenix Valley area. And so we just picked that storage unit because it was a good deal. It was brand new. And then we just happened to live on the other side of the valley. So not only was I paying $200 to store my stuff, but I was storing my stuff 25 miles away, which means for sure I was never going to go down there.
Well,
right?
You've heard that expression, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Well, yours was out of sight, out of money.
Yeah. Yeah. But now that we have everything here, it would be a constant reminder every day. We need to go through this so I can get my garage space back.
Right.
Right. Whereas now we can go through it. We're never going to go through it at the storage unit 25 miles away.
Right.
We'd never hey, let's take a day and go hang out the storage unit and go through bins. We'd never do that.
Yeah.
I know we'd never do it.
Picture, scan, or trash. That's the next thing.
Picture, scan, or trash?
Yep.
Yep. There you go.
All right, Damon, thank you so much for all your wisdom on self-storage. I was going to say something else, not kid-friendly. But
I think all this wisdom that you've been pounding into my head for 20 years.
Well,
so it's your wisdom. And it's not like, here's the funny thing, logically, everything you were saying, I'm like, you were right, logically.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the emotional side of my brain that was just like, but I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to have to make those decisions about what to get rid of. And I think that's what traps a lot of people into things like self-storage, because they have things that they emotionally don't want to get rid of. And I struggle with that. Like I've struggled with that my whole life. Again, I'm not like on hoarders like on TV where you're walking over trash when you come into my house, but that's why I have a storage unit. That's kidding. I hide it 25 miles away. No, but what I can tell you is when I do get rid of things and I finally just like, I'm going to get rid of this, I've never had a situation that I can remember where after I finally just like, okay, this stuff, it doesn't make sense to keep trying. I got to get rid of this. I got to sell it. I got to just, donate it to Goodwill. I've never had a situation where I've been like sad about it later, which seems kind of weird. Like, why would you be sad about stuff? But when you have emotional connections to things, but it's always been this freeing feeling that once it's finally done, it's like, wow, it's done. Because when we did get that storage, when I had that U-Haul trailer pulling all the stuff out the other week, I also filled it with a whole bunch of stuff that was currently in my garage, things that we didn't need, could get rid of. And I went to the dump and I unloaded a whole trailer full of stuff at the dump.
Yeah.
And it felt great driving away. That's just a whole trailer full of stuff that's now just gone and not in my way and out of my life. And it made room for the new trailer full of stuff that came from the storage unit.
Well, every couple of years, we rent one of those small dumpsters and just like go through the house top to bottom and just throw out as much crap as we can.
Yeah, because like you said, at the end of the day, at the end of your life, or even if you're like at some point have to go to a assisted living facility, at some point, I know people don't like to think about it, especially if they're only in their 40s or
Yeah.
50s or whatever, but it's just going to become a burden to your kid.
I got some of my
Because
parents' stuff. It's in the basement.
yeah, and I think maybe depending on how your kids are, like I have some of my grandparents' things, I have some of my parents' things, and those things, I like, but they're it's not, a whole storage unit full of stuff that
Right.
you're going to want to keep from your parents, right? And so if you don't do it, it's just going to burden your kids because somebody will have to do it someday.
I mean, what am I going to do with my parents' old yearbook? And my daughter, and her daughter, they don't want it.
Yeah.
At some point, it's going to end up in the trash.
Yeah, and if it's eventually going to end up there, then you got to ask yourself, why am I paying $200 a month?
Right. To store
You
it
hold on
now.
to it, just delaying the inevitable. It's eventually going to end up in the trash.
Yeah.
So why am I paying you're essentially just paying, in my case, $2,000, $2,400 a year to put off having to make that choice. That's all it is.
Well, you were a good customer for the storage place while it lasted. But, after a couple decades, it's all going to come to an end.
I've been joking for 20 years. I should create my own storage facility. And the only reason I haven't done it is because I'm moving all over the place in the last 20 years. And it's like, well, I create this perfect situation with RV parking and my own storage, and then I can just utilize my own facility. And then I move to a different state or something.
Exactly.
And now it's like, oh.
All right, Damon, thank you so much. Until next time, I will see you.
Peace.
Got a money question keeping you up at night? Well, don't just Google it. Get real answers from real people who actually know what they're talking about. Head to getoutofdebt.org/podcast to ask your question, and you might hear it on an upcoming episode. But hey, if you'd rather keep it private, Damon Day has your back. Visit DamonDay.com because getting out of debt is easier with the right help. That's getoutofdebt.org/podcast, where smart money questions lead to smarter money moves.